Hello, and welcome to the Lore of Braunhaven. I would like to apologize for not having a new episode the past couple of weeks. I had some personal things. I had a very sick cat, and then I myself got very sick. So I am back, and today we are going to be talking about the year -002, which the events of that year actually um, linger into the modern age. And what happened was is that in -002, um, the first signs of illness, of some kind of plague, has appeared, and uh, nobody is sure, of course, where this plague may have come from. But the symptoms are, um, they begin flu-like and quickly progress to boils and um, being bedridden, of course, racking cough, and followed quickly by death. Now, the thing about this is that none of the healers in the region were able to do anything about this, and at this point, Emperor Belusian has not yet risen to power. The emperor at the time has been courted by Vuslux. The reality of this sickness is that it is the first signs of what is known as the demon plague. Now, all of these all the victims of this illness eventually are taken over, and it is a form of demonic possession. But it starts by presenting itself as a plague, and by year zero, the plague era has fully the whole region has fully succumbed to the plague era of year zero. And when I say that it's fully succumbed, by year zero, 2/3 of the population is sick or dead in the Braunhaven region. So this is a rather serious plague that there's no resolution to it. These people are just dying now. What they don't know is that everybody who has died is secreted away to somewhere. Nobody knows exactly where, but Vuslux is taking these bodies, and he is having them secreted away because they will soon revive as part of his um, demonic army, demonic and devilish army, mostly demons, that he has brought up from the Stygian lair of hell. And this goes on for about another 3 or 4 years. In year three, the emperor of the Glaucian Empire, he dies under mysterious circumstances. Some say that it was the plague. Others say that he presented no symptoms, and that it may have been poison. But at the very least, we can say that he was in his elder years, and so I mean, he most people don't live forever, but there are some that may. And there was a young courtier in the court, a minor nobleman, that with the death of the emperor, he left no heirs, and so it was up to the Senate to decide on who the next emperor was going to be. Vuslux pulled strings and whispered in the right ears, and was quickly able to gain prominence for this young nobleman who was named Belusian Cestus. And it is no, of course, no secret that Belusian Cestus was enamored by the promises that Vuslex made, that he was going to be, you know, Vuslex promised him that he was going to be the next emperor, and that all of the empire would be his. He would be ultimately in power. But the reality is that Belusian really isn't that smart. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say, well, yeah, he's pretty dumb. He almost childlike in his desires, and so he was easily seduced. Vuslex, of course, played up to his ego, making him believe that he was um, far more intelligent and capable than he really was. The reality is that Belusian came from minor nobility. He had old money, and the reality is he would never have been more than what he truly was if it were not for, a archdevil pulling strings for him. And pull those strings Vuslex did, and was able to get the Senate to vote him in as the next emperor of the Glaucian Empire. Now, there were senators that did not back Belusian Cestus, and those senators suddenly came down with the plague and died. Um, the other senators weren't necessarily um, frightened into voting for him, but the replacement senators that came in, of course, were plants from Vuslex, and so the Senate suddenly became very corrupt, and the votes were had. And Belusian Cestus, in year 3, was put on the throne of the Glaucian Empire. Following that, the Vuslex now had, essentially, he had a puppet ruler on the throne. He controlled an entire empire, and the next phase was to immediately set about decrying the council of the 12 elder gods. The heart of that church sits in Glauchheim, the capital city, known as the Chapel of the Known Gods. And the Chapel of the Known Gods, the entry foyer has a area that it was dedicated to the old gods, and then the main chapel, of course, was dedicated to the Council of 12 Elder Gods. And he wanted that to go away, and so once again convinced Emperor Belusian Cestus that it would be in the best interest of the entire empire to worship Vuslex himself. And Vuslex set himself up in the Glaucian Empire as the one god, because it was only worship of the one god that could cure the demon plague and that was sweeping across the land. And Belusian Cestus did exactly that. Um, it is mandated by law that that worship of Vuslex is the only religion, but even in Glauchheim, the Chapel of the Known Gods, while it has been completely dedicated over to worship of Vuslex, there is still minor token worship given to the other gods, the Council of the 12 Elder Gods and the Old Gods. But the people that worship them, they at first they were heavily persecuted, but Vuslex, being an archdevil and not strictly, he's not a demon, so he is able to play the long game. for devils. Um, and and he realized that during this plague, he had taken essentially 2/3 of the population and turned them into his demon army. That we don't know where they're at. Demons and devils occasionally pop up throughout the region, but nothing to the tune of all of the ones that would have been created during their deaths in the plague. And so nobody knows when that may come into play. That could be a scary time. It's kind of Vuslex's ace in the hole. But he realized that he had killed off 2/3 of the population, so he can't just, go off and start putting people, burning them at the stake and crucifying them for not worshiping him, because he just doesn't have that many people left. And of course, Glassstein needs tax revenue, and so you don't cut down the money tree. And so a lot of it has been allowed to the people have been allowed to um, continue. It is a known secret that they continue their worship of the elder gods in secret, but for whatever reason, and nobody's been able to ever quite put their finger on it. The Church of Vuslex has a bee in their butt about druids and witches, and so witches are a class in the Braunhaven campaign setting, and they are very closely tied to druids, whereas druids are more of a clerical aspect of the old gods. Witches are a very old um, arcane aspect, arcane and divine kind of overlap. They're very heavily tied to ritual magic, and um, the one of the first things that Belusian Cestus did in order to root out druids and clerics was to create a new class of knight, the Imperial Witch Hunter. Imperial Witch Hunters are well, they are the best equipped technology wise. So around this time, around probably around year 10, um, they started to experiment, and technology came in, of course, from across the seas. They started to experiment with matchlock firearms and the invention of, or the discovery of the invention of gunpowder from both Orentis and Erebachia. That technology made its way into the Glaucian Empire, and the matchlock firearm was the next logical step. And so, witch hunters are automatically um, that is part of their initial training is matchlock firearms. And so he made a big deal of equipping these guys with their matchlock firearms, and their whole thing is to stamp out the veneration of the old gods, which is by the, of course, druids and witches, and they've been very very good at that. But they just, for whatever reason, the old gods are they're really getting the screws put to their thumbs, and so these witch hunters go out. But the witch hunters are used for other things as well. They're kind of an elite corps. They're the anti-paladin. Um, they are sent out when something major happens. So the next thing that the Emperor Belusian decided, Vuslex told Belusian that that we need to close the Imperial port because we can't have until the Glaucian Empire is secured. We can't have ships coming in from Orentis. What really was going on is that Vuslex was worried that remnants of the devil armies that were still left over in Orentis would come over and see and come in and see that there was strife and that the Glaucian Empire was kind of rife for taking over, and he didn't want that extra conflict, so he shut down the Imperial port. Kind of. Um, did that really work? Well, the Imperial port is technically closed to merchant business, but there is still activity going on there, and we'll get to that another time. So next time that will be catching us up. We're going to fast forward a couple hundred years to the current age, and take a look at how things have progressed since then. And I'll catch you next time on the Lore of Braunhaven. Thank you for watching.